Have you ever come close to throwing something away? Maybe an old box, a rusted gadget, or something that looked broken beyond repair, and hesitated, wondering if it might be worth something. Most of us don't give it a second thought. We assume junk is junk. We clean out attics, garages, and basements without thinking twice, throwing away things we don't recognize, things that look outdated, things covered in dust and rust. But what if we told you that the thing you're about to toss might be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? In this video, we're diving into 5 jaw-dropping discoveries, items that were treated like trash, but were extremely rare, historically significant, or even lost masterpieces. Some were found at garage sales, others in barns, behind paintings, or buried in cluttered drawers, and every single one sold for over $100,000. And make sure you watch until the very end, because the final story involves a twisted piece of metal that people thought belonged in a scrapyard, but turned out to be worth more than $100 million. In 2020, a man was clearing out an old childhood bedroom when he came across something he hadn't seen in decades, an unopened copy of the 1987 NES game, Kid Icarus. It was still sealed in its original shrink wrap, perfectly preserved, tucked away in the back of a drawer, and completely forgotten for more than 30 years. At first glance, it looked like a relic of a bygone gaming era. But when he took it to a grading company, they were stunned. The condition was nearly flawless. The seal was intact, the corners sharp, and the label untouched. Now, for anyone unfamiliar with retro gaming, NES cartridges aren't rare. But sealed copies, especially of titles like Kid Icarus, which had a limited release, are exceptionally hard to find. And in this kind of condition, even collectors were shocked. Once authenticated and graded, it went up for auction and sold for $140,000. Not bad for something that had been lying quietly in a drawer all that time. So next time you see a dusty game cartridge, don't treat it like an old toy. It might be your ticket to 6 figures. In the English countryside, a man began clearing out a barn that had been untouched for decades. Inside was an old, rust-covered shell of a car. The tires were rotted, the paint was gone, and it was missing windows. To anyone else, it would have looked like scrap metal. But as they brushed off the grime and dug a little deeper, they realized the shape of the body was unique. It was long, sleek, and the curves matched those of something legendary. Underneath the dirt and corrosion was a 1960 Ferrari 250 GT Coupe, one of the most iconic sports cars ever made. Despite being in awful condition, with parts missing and animals having made nests in the interior, this was still a Ferrari, and even rusted and broken, collectors know how valuable these models can be. After confirming the chassis number and tracing the car's history, it went to auction. The final sale price was $225,000. It didn't even run. But because of the rarity of the model and the value of its restoration potential, collectors fought for it. That barn find, which many would have called junk, turned out to be a treasure. A piece of automotive history is almost lost under layers of dust and time. So if you've got something old with curves, wheels, or an engine hiding in a barn somewhere, don't assume it's worthless. In Connecticut, a woman was browsing a neighborhood yard sale when a simple, white ceramic bowl caught her eye. It looked fragile, smooth, and delicately glazed. It was priced at just $3. She bought it mostly because it looked nice. She placed it on a mantle at home, where it sat for a while, untouched. But one day, curiosity struck. She decided to take it to an expert in Asian antiques, just in case. That decision changed everything. What she had brought in was no ordinary bowl. It was a Ruyao bowl from the Northern Song dynasty, dating back nearly 1,000 years. These pieces were reserved for imperial use and are considered among the rarest forms of Chinese porcelain. Only a handful of authentic Ruyao bowls exist in the world, and many are housed in museums. When hers went to auction at Sotheby's, it attracted intense global interest. The final sale price was $2.2 million. from a $3 yard sale buy to an international bidding war, all thanks to an eye for detail and a little curiosity. So next time you pass by a box of random dishes at a garage sale or flea market, it might be worth taking a second look. You never know what kind of history might be hiding in plain sight. At a flea market in Pennsylvania, a man came across a dusty old painting in a simple wooden frame. The art itself wasn't anything special, the kind of piece you'd see hanging in a thrift store. But for some reason, he bought it for $4. Later that day, while examining the frame more closely, he noticed something strange behind the canvas. Tucked between the backing board and the painting was an old folded sheet of paper. He carefully pulled it out and realized he was holding something extraordinary. It turned out to be one of the original Dunlap broadsides, printed in 1776. It was one of the first 500 copies of the Declaration of Independence ever made. Only a small number of these survive today, most held by institutions. This one had been hidden for centuries behind an anonymous painting, protected from light and damage all that time. Once authenticated, the document sold at auction for $477,650, all from a flea market, find that most people would have walked right past. It shows you never really know what's hidden in or behind the things we find, whether it's a rolled-up poster, a page tucked in a frame, or something folded in the bottom of a drawer. The past has a strange way of revealing itself when you least expect it. In 2002, a family in New York was sorting through their late relative's estate. The garage was cluttered, filled with tools, half-finished projects, old furniture, and what looked like twisted metal pieces scattered in a corner. One of those twisted shapes stood out. It didn't look like a machine part or leftover pipe. It was smoother, curved intentionally. Still, they thought it might be a scrap sculpture or some modern yard art. But before tossing it, they had it examined. The experts were stunned. That strange piece of metal was an original sculpture by Constantin Brancusi, one of the most influential artists of the 20th century. The piece was titled The Sleeping Muse, a work believed to have been lost for decades. It had somehow ended up in a private collection, passed down without anyone realizing its true identity. And because Brancusi's work is known for its minimalism, it was easy for a non-expert to mistake it for scrap. Once authenticated, the sculpture was appraised at over $100 million. Yes, something that looked like scrap metal in a dusty garage turned out to be a lost masterpiece of modern art. This one find changed everything for the family and for the art world, which thought the piece had disappeared forever. It's proof that treasures don't always shine. They don't always look valuable. Sometimes they look odd, rusty, or even ugly, until someone with the right knowledge sees them for what they are. So, before you clean out that garage, toss that painting, or throw out that old cartridge, take one more look. History doesn't always shout. Sometimes it hides in corners, behind ordinary things. These 5 stories prove that what we call junk might be a fortune in disguise. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who loves a good hidden treasure story. And let us know in the comments, what's the strangest thing you've found lying around the house? Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.